fishing town was no longer hers to shape. It had already been remade. A festering wound hidden beneath a silken bandage, it whispered its devotion to Amara by day and bled in secret for Lothenia by night. The people knelt to the false goddess with empty prayers, their lips moving in hollow devotion even as their hearts belonged to the dark. In the shadowed corners of their homes, in the depths of their dreams, they worshipped the true queen of fate and ruin. And Daemonweaver, their silent architect, had watched the corruption take root and bloom like a strangling vine. The surrounding villages had fallen in turn, their souls claimed without struggle, without fire or war, only quiet surrender, their wills given freely, their faith stolen away like breath in the dark, and many of their souls given to feed Lothenia's power. Lothenia's will was clear. It was time to move on. Daemonweaver did not leave as a wanderer, nor as a conqueror. She rode as something greater, something inevitable. The richest merchant in the town had offered her his finest horse, not as tribute, not as payment, but as a thing already hers. The beast was a creature of midnight, muscle and power draped in shadow, its hooves striking the earth like the drumbeats of an oncoming storm. Wealth was no longer a thing she had to take. It was placed at her feet without question. Gold, jewels, silks, what did it matter? The people would have emptied their coffers, bled themselves dry, if only to bask in her presence a moment longer. The road to Vel Tarsis stretched before her, winding like a serpent through the land. It was a city untouched, unspoiled by her hand, for now. That would change soon enough. The city loomed before her like a gilded jewel, its towers of white stone piercing the sky, crowned with golden spires that shimmered in the afternoon sun. Vel Tarsis, the radiant city, the jewel of the south, a place where kings and queens once walked, where the gods themselves were said to have whispered their will to mortals. From a distance, it was breathtaking. Wide, gleaming streets carved of polished marble stretched like veins through its heart, lined with statues of saints and heroes. Grand temples to Amara and her pantheon dominated the skyline, their stained glass windows casting radiant hues upon the sprawling courtyards below. The scent of perfumed gardens drifted through the air, mingling with the aroma of roasted meats from lavish feasts held in the villas of the wealthy. But Daemonweaver saw the truth beneath the opulence. Beyond the grandeur, Vel Tarsis was rotting. The slums curled around its foundations like a dying thing, narrow alleys choked with filth, shadowed doorways hiding wretches who had long since lost their faith in Amara's light. The scent of unwashed bodies, cheap wine, and decay clung to the lower districts, a stark contrast to the honeyed perfumes of the noble quarters. This city is already ours? Lothenia's voice slithered through Daemonweaver's mind, warm and sultry. It just does not know it yet. Daemonweaver smiled as she urged her horse forward. She rode through the grand gates of Vel Tarsis like a queen returning to her throne. The guards barely gave her a second glance before stepping aside, eyes flickering over the wealth she radiated. The deep sapphire robes of shimmering silk, the golden embroidery curling like flames at her hem, the cloak of black fox fur draped over her shoulders. Her beauty was otherworldly, sharpened by Lothenia's touch. Her raven-dark hair cascaded in silken waves, framing a face that was both regal and seductive. High cheekbones, full lips painted a deep crimson, eyes like molten gold, gleaming with dark power. She moved with effortless grace, her body sculpted and poised, her very presence demanding attention. And attention was given. Noblemen halted in their tracks, their conversations faltering as they turned to watch her pass. Women whispered behind their fans, eyes widening with a mixture of admiration and jealousy. Even the city watch, hardened and disciplined, found themselves unable to look away. Daemonweaver rode slowly, savoring the weight of their gazes. She did not smile, not yet, but allowed the corner of her lips to tilt in the faintest, most knowing way, the look of a woman who owned the world around her. She could hear their thoughts. Who is she? A foreign noblewoman? A priestess of Amara? By the gods, I have never seen such a vision. Fools. Soon they would all kneel before her. She did not settle for an inn, not here. Vel Tarsis was wealth incarnate, and she would play her role accordingly. Her horse's hooves clicked against the polished stone streets as she guided it to the Ivory Vale, the most lavish guest house in the city. A palace in its own right, its towering columns were carved from pale alabaster, its entrance draped in fine velvet. Lanterns of enchanted glass cast a warm glow over the courtyards, where fountains of wine flowed freely for those who could afford them. Daemonweaver dismounted without a word. A young attendant rushed forward, barely able to hide the awe in his face as he took the reins from her, his hands trembling slightly. She placed a single finger beneath his chin, tilting his face up to meet her golden gaze. "Have my belongings brought to my suite," she murmured, "and send your finest wine." The boy blushed, stammering a hasty agreement before hurrying off. Daemonweaver smirked. Inside, the Ivory Vale was even more decadent than she had imagined. Gold-trimmed furniture, silk cushions embroidered with the sigils of noble houses, chandeliers of enchanted crystal that bathed the halls in soft, flickering light. Laughter and music spilled from private chambers, where the wealthy indulged in pleasures both whispered and forbidden. She approached the grand desk where the keeper of the guest house, a portly man adorned in fine blue robes, awaited. "Ah, my lady," he said with a low bow, his gaze lingering a moment too long on the curve of her lips. "Welcome to the Ivory Vale. How may I—" "I require your finest suite," Daemonweaver interrupted, her tone smooth as silk, yet leaving no room for refusal. The man hesitated, then nodded eagerly, his greed outweighing his caution. "Of course, my lady. Our celestial suite is fit for royalty, a private balcony bath and—" "It will do." She placed a pouch of gold on the counter, the weight of it more than enough to silence any further questions. With another bow, the keeper handed her the key, his fingers twitching slightly as they brushed against hers. Daemonweaver's smile was slow, knowing. This city is weak, and she would break it? Her suite was luxury incarnate. A four-poster bed adorned with silk sheets, a marble bath filled with steaming rose-scented water, a balcony overlooking the sprawling cityscape. She removed her cloak and let it fall onto the bed before stepping onto the balcony, the cool night air brushing against her skin. The city stretched before her, glowing in the darkness. So many souls, Lothenia's voice purred, thick with hunger, so much faith to twist. "We shall begin soon, my love." Daemonweaver leaned against the railing, her golden eyes narrowing. "Tell me," she whispered. "The noble houses are divided, rivalries fester, ambitions grow. The high priest of Amara drowns in greed beneath his holy robes. The city watch is filled with men of sin, aching for release. The merchants would sell their own kin for coin, and the desperate poor would worship any god who grants them favor." Daemonweaver's lips curled. "We shall seduce them all," Lothenia murmured. "One by one they will fall to us, until Vel Tarsis is ours." Daemonweaver laughed softly, the sound carrying on the wind. Yes, by the time she was done, Vel Tarsis would belong to the Dark Queen.